because lots of things are going on. There are actually, I'd say, 17 students in the SmartArts grouping. Some of them are sitting here, maybe wave, this whole row. There are several that are a little sad they can't make it, but they're being interviewed for scholarships today. There were 3 of them. And part of the reason why they were invited was because of some of the work they did here. So they're being interviewed. They hope the interview will last forever and that they can come by and participate. So that's some of what's going on. But let me share with you, you've all come here because we're launching the book. It's kind of already been launched on Amazon. There's paperback and Kindle versions. We're currently working on the audio tape where the students came in, read their chapters, and the students from the radio station are trying to sort of put that together. And then that will go up on what's called Audio Box, which is a company owned by Amazon. So that's sort of in process, and we hope that that task will be finished by June. We hope. We are working on it, and we'd like you to hold along with us. That's a very good thing. So we call it Into the SmartArts because basically, come on in. You come on in, some more SmartArts. We're going to today read a little bit from the book and the chapters, but my idea, and of course it was presented to the students and it got tweaked and turned around and kind of shaped, was to really explore their personal experiences, or even the lack thereof, because we've got one that lacks thereof, Adam, of how they got involved with cultural arts, to what extent. And some of them go back to like 2 years old or 4 years old with mom, dad, and grandma, to more recent, or how the community college helped, or how, a family member helped, or because they didn't know where to go and what to do for a vacuum in their lives, they discovered or explored by chance something that turned them on to the cultural arts. So let me just read you a little bit of the foreword, and then I'm going to call each one to take a turn to read his or her chapter. After they're there, the students are there for signing, and maybe I'll call all of you up here and people can ask some questions about the experience with this whole thing. But before I begin, how do you like the chapter? And you have to be careful what you the cover. Rise and shine. Rise and shine. Jose Ramos, who also has a chapter written in the book. He helped design, and I say help because there is another student who has graduated, who is not here, Sadie Rebsch, who took some of Jose's handiwork and put it really online and with the computer, and they worked back and forth together. Yes, so this was really a collaborative effort. And in the famous words of "it takes a village," it really took a village to do this. The students, the handiwork. Cherise Gordon was the editor, the big editor, helping out, and each student edited in part other people's work, so it was really, truly collaborative. Okay, let me read
What
a
about
little.
yourself?
Oh. Okay, 4 thoughts, musings on the arts, okay? This is the foreword, but of course, since we wanted to be creative, we didn't want to just call it a foreword, so I put 4 thoughts. Why do it the traditional way when you can be a little inventive, yes? It always amazes me just how the doors of perception are created, cleansed, and left wide open after seeing a theatrical performance, attending a museum exhibition, or somehow being immersed in the wonderful world of cultural arts. I embarked on this literary mission to allow for the voices of typical students and a few others, specifically alumni, to share their experiences of discovery and enchantment with the arts. These narrative journeys are deeply personal, engaging, and revealing. Being involved in the arts field for most of my adult life, as I am the coordinator of cultural affairs here at the college, I have been able to experience and explore new performing arts, artists, and genres, as well as showcase them to the public. The theater serves as a source of ideas and inspiration, a social club, as well as a portal for spiritual transcendence. When I took the initiative to offer free admission to the students at the college, it was truly telling just how engaged and excited the students had become. Instead of hanging out on a Saturday night, an increasing number of students now trek to the campus to be transported by a dance performance. And that is, of course, the bus schedule lapse. That's very key here because it's limited. So their efforts are monumental to get here to the events, and that attendance has been increasing. We're really happy about that. It provided a welcome home mat for weary travelers to be immersed in something grander than oneself. It's challenging to ascertain just how much these young and mature students are affected by the theater-going experience. Now their voices will be heard and their stories told through this, some of the expositions, and for a coming of age vis-a-vis the cultural arts, while others a shift in perception and a greater sensitivity to the world at large. The students involved with this project have come forth with really touching a sense of honesty, clarity, and positive intention to encourage others, which I think is pretty out there, not just themselves, but others to get involved with the cultural arts. And many have been bringing their friends and family. One need not be a bard, scholar, dancer, actor, visual artist, or musician to enjoy the arts. Rather, one must be open and receptive to a new way of looking, thinking, perceiving, and reacting. The arts will continue to flourish and spread its glorious light on a compassionate and engaged audience, as can be observed in the following chronicles. I would like to invite Gail. Will start this way. V. Gail Myers, and she is, we sometimes call her Chapter 4 when we're bombed. Chapter 4, V. Gail Myers.
You want me to read from here or there?
Yeah, I think here, and maybe there is a mic. Can we be heard?
From where?
Or where else?
How does this work for everybody? Good? All right. Okay, so I wrote about why I love the arts. I love the arts, and my first exposure to a stage production occurred about age 7. Mom and Dad took my sister's brother and myself to Radio City in New York, and we saw the Christmas show starring the Rockettes, world famous dance troupe. So the bright lights and the multicolored sequin glittering costumes and an orchestra heard but not always seen delivered music that swelled the walls of an already bigger-than-life stage. The rendition of the Nutcracker Suite, along with each musical note, embedded itself into my soul. All the visions, smells, and sounds overwhelmed my senses that wintry afternoon, and I was hooked. After the curtain rose and the production began, my jaw dropped in awe. I couldn't help myself. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught my dad nudging my mom and nodding in my direction. They were both smiling, as was I after I eventually closed my mouth. That was probably the only time my mouth has been closed since. Anyone who knows me will attest to that. They knew in that moment that what began as a Christmas treat became an experience. This was the opening act for my love of the arts. With the foundation now laid, subsequent experiences continued to develop and build my love and support of the arts. Television and videos provided easy access to view Broadway musicals and plays at home. Attending PTA and community theater productions in elementary school and junior and senior high whetted my appetite for theater outside of the TV screen. Besides the entertainment value of the show, even if I didn't like it, just watching fellow students, teachers, or classmates' parents perform on stage was intriguing. The variety of talent in one person, singing, dancing, acting, and correctly remembering where to be when on stage provided a window into the talents of people I knew. It made the theater arts very real for me. A road trip to Washington, D.C. with my Girl Scout troop in 6th grade provided a different experience. In or near Annapolis, Virginia, we attended an evening performance at an outdoor amphitheater. The Naval Academy Band played stirring renditions of patriotic music as well as other songs. What I remember most were the brass instruments obeying their navy blue uniformed musicians, the pure white appearance of the amphitheater, the staggered seats up the hillside for the audience, and the starlit Van Gogh blue night sky. Up close and personal, this was a beautiful experience, allowing the music to entertain and relax minds and souls. I now had a mental picture of what the goal of our school band conductors and orchestra leaders were trying to accomplish with my musician classmates. Freshman year in high school presented an opportunity to attend a production of La Traviata at the Metropolitan Opera House in New York City. So, with like-minded students, I spent an afternoon being entertained with this new-to-us art form. The personal responses were mixed, ranging from like to dislike. Those in the dislike camp primarily didn't understand what was going on. So, my hint is that before attending any production where you will have a difficult time understanding what is happening, do a quick research of the storyline. And I do that for all authors, Shakespeare's, and anything else that I maybe not be up to speed with. So even if it's not in a language you understand, being familiar with the storyline still allows you to enjoy the production. So I familiarized myself with La Traviata, which allowed me to enjoy the show, and it reinforced my technique of pre-show familiarity prior to attending many other subsequent shows. Additionally, my previous theater and music experiences prepared me to be open-minded to opera. One never knows what one will like until you try it. So the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Museum of Modern Art, the Guggenheim Museum were all introduced to me during my elementary and high school years. All are located in New York City. Seeing firsthand great paintings or sculptures done by the masters hundreds of years ago, or the talents of skilled modern artists, is inspiring. No one will get that awe, appreciation, and true comprehension of a work by flipping through the pages of a book, Kindle, or tablet. Seeing for oneself is absorbing the art, learning, and knowing the art. Once I began college and started moving around, it became time-consuming to travel into New York City to see a show or go to a museum. Living in upstate New York, New Jersey, or Delaware, however, never prevented me from staying connected to cultural arts. Most communities have local theater groups, dinner theater, museums, and art shows. Community colleges and universities are also great venues for access to the arts. In Syracuse, New York, the Community Theater presented its productions as Theater in the Round, a totally new experience for me. So seating surrounds the stage and is also relatively close to the stage. A more intimate relationship between the audience and cast is created, typically including audience participation. Local museums, significantly smaller than those in New York City, display interesting art and feature special art exhibits. Libraries also present art shows and advertise upcoming events in the community. Just because people do not live in or near a major city doesn't mean they can't experience the joy of the arts. In Cold Spring, New York, for example, Shakespeare on the Hudson presents shows during the summer of Oscarville, a beautiful location overlooking the majestic Hudson River. A large tent encompasses the bleacher seating and ground level stage. This is a wonderful way to spend a summer evening where people can bring a picnic dinner to enjoy with family or friends while partaking of performance of one of the bard's beloved works. These experiences and memories I've shared have special meaning to me, as well as being teachable moments. The bigger picture brings family, friends, classmates, and strangers together to share a common bond. Entertainment, culture, history, art appreciation, beauty of the spoken word, set or costume design, and the engineering of special effects are collectively appreciated and usually spawn dialogue in the audience. People don't need to have the same or similar education or even a formal education to love a painting, sculpture, ballet, song, or piece of instrumental music. The disciplines of art bond us as human beings because each discipline does speak to our hearts. For those who feel the arts don't impact them, but appreciate that other people do enjoy them, consider this. Art is all around us, and we enjoy it daily, from how we dress and decorate our home, office or environment, to how we arrange flowers in a vase or plant an outdoor garden. Art influences our lives on a day-to-day basis through conscious and unconscious assimilation. It can stimulate our senses and have the ability to move, comfort, inspire, and repair our soul and spirit. The arts keep us connected to our family, friends, and culture across the generations and around the world. Outings become traditions which bond us to our loved ones and our communities. In times of emergency or health crisis, the arts can soothe and heal. Starting with elementary grades, we must maintain free to low-cost cultural art programs through high school, community college, and beyond. Everyone benefits. Cultural arts are the universal language of the world. These reasons are why the arts are important to me and why we must maintain cultural art programs. And P.S., personally, I have, and trust me, I have no musical, dance, or acting abilities. Trust me. Over the years, it's become clear to me that I missed that curtain call when those talents were handed out. However, I still greatly enjoy the arts. So I will not sell myself short, nor should others. Enthusiastic audience members and appreciation of the art is in great demand. Therefore, I look forward to seeing everyone at the show. Thank you.
All right, we've got Jessica. May I call you up? And Jessica is responsible for Chapter 8. So Chapter 8 is moving and coming up to the podium. Chapter 8. And Jessica's title is Finding Art Everywhere. So, hope you enjoy.
Just a little summary. Sorry. I always tell my boyfriend, who I've been with for almost 2 years, I always tell him, every day I almost tell him a new story about my life, and I'm only 19, but I feel like I've had more life experiences than more people I really have met at any ages, and this is just 5% of places I've been, I guess. But finding art everywhere.
There's art in everything.
I'm not even going to use that. There is art in everything on this beautiful planet Earth. Many humans take it for granted, but I've been fortunate enough to see parts of the world through my own eyes and grasp the beauty of the arts. People's experiences through art, culture, and diversity can shape who they are for their entire existence. Throughout the years, I've acquired a lot of adventures. I will start with my experiences in New York City. Never will I forget the time that I saw my first Broadway show, Mary Poppins, and it felt as if a whole new world had opened up inside of me. The excitement was unreal, too good to be true. I could feel it emotionally inside my heart. I began to become a Broadway fanatic and saw many other shows in New York City. I thought it was truly amazing how individuals could express emotions so intensely through singing and acting. I began to live in another world when I listened to Broadway music or saw a Broadway show. I loved the idea of singing about one's inner conflicts and emotions. I loved looking around the theater and visualizing the cast members' costumes and the set designs on stage. It always threw me off how a performer could change so fast, or how the stage could become something else in a matter of seconds. When Rent went off Broadway, I became so upset that I made my father drive 7 hours upstate so I could see it on tour. Many Broadway shows seemed to express how I was feeling inside. It was incredible that the pain and agony I would feel could be expressed and portrayed in the show. I had been to the Museum of Natural History and the Metropolitan Museum of Art. There were a couple of paintings that had splattered paint on them in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and I could not understand why this was art for a long time. Until one day I realized how randomly beautiful those paintings were. Throughout time, I have come to the conclusion that there really is art in every aspect of life. I saw Christmas roquettes, and it blew my mind as to how accurate and precise the roquettes dance. Every move was so perfect, and every girl danced in synchronicity. I sing a lot, and my voice is actually so deep that I sing tenor with the guys in my high school chorus class. I got made fun of a lot for that. A lot of people judged me poorly, but there was nothing more dramatically amazing than when my chorus class sung for hours on end at the Lincoln Center. I felt like I was famous, and I felt the joy around me as we were singing about Christmas. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm Palestinian, but I consider myself Lebanese because a lot of my family lives there. And my parents were born there. From the moment I was born, cultural and art had a huge impact on my life. I quickly moved to South Korea when I was a baby. I guess like 3 years before. Although I do not have any vivid memories of South Korea, it will always be a part of who I am. It keeps me open-minded and makes me want to travel there one day. I moved back to Louisville, Kentucky, and moved to Kentucky quite a few times. About a year or less, I was kind of a nomadic since I was born. Never having a real home made me a cultural nomad from a young age. I had developed a southern accent from a very young age and lost it when I moved to New York. While in Kentucky, I have seen so many Kentucky Derby shows which exposed me to gambling. That was always strange to me when I considered what winnings a horse could bring to someone. The horses were beautiful and so fast, but something struck me so odd about the idea of gambling, especially when compared to spending time in an art museum or seeing rent. I had moved to Mexico at the age of about 7 or 8. Mexico was full of light, enthusiasm, energy, and fun. I moved to a beautiful mansion in Querétaro, Mexico, a town heavily influenced by the Aztecs. The mansion that I lived in was breathtaking. I had never seen such beauty in a home before. But the most wonderful thing was that I was taking ballet, and I used to dance throughout the mansion. I lost my Spanish, but I communicated with others. I don't know how when I was younger, but it was hard because I didn't speak their native language. But I managed a way to communicate with them. After about 8 months, my mom decided to move us back to Kentucky, but this time we lived in a little apartment, and then we moved a couple more times there. I have learned to adapt well over the years. Throughout my travels, I've gotten to know people very well without speaking a single word to them. Silence is powerful. When people travel a lot, they may see that they don't share a language with others. One can communicate in other ways. It was nice how someone who does not speak my native language can become my friend. It was amazing how I realized this so young. When I was young, I traveled to Quebec, Canada. I quickly fell in love with the culture. People in Quebec are very down to earth and relaxed individuals. They are influenced by the French, just like my whole family. Everyone in my family speaks French. I visited an old man in Quebec, and he had a little museum of carved people made out of wood. His job was to tell children and tourists about the tales that come from the carved people. I visited Hotel de Blanchet in Quebec, and it had artwork sculpted out of ice all around the walls. The beds were made out of ice, everything was ice. In sharp contrast in Lebanon, my native country, quite beautiful, I never thought that such a small country could be so mind-blowing. The chaos that corrupts Lebanon is very sad, and there may never be peace there. I have been to Lebanon 3 times in my life. I visited the Khalil Gibran Museum, which made me come to the conclusion that the human body is truly amazing. Gibran drew nudes, and for a while I thought it was strange until I gained tremendous appreciation for his paintings. Most of all, I learned how to expand my heart by seeing the diversity of people and culture in Lebanon and throughout the world. Traveling has truly made me see love in everything and beauty in everyone. That is art to me. I see art in every human being and in every place I've been to. Thank you for listening.
I couldn't have done it without this one. All right, now on to chapter 9, written by our artist at hand who helped with the cover image, Mr. Jose Ramos. Chapter 9. Oh, you memorized your page.
titled Art is My Freedom. As a young child, I lived with my mother in a particularly rough part of the Bronx. It was an urban wasteland of poverty and drugs, sprinkled with the occasional street fair for Puerto Rican or Dominican pride. This, and the multiple bodegas and botanicas, contributed towards a sort of new agey outlook that I had developed. I started to question where I fit into society. Being mixed but extremely light-skinned with predominantly Irish features, I struggled to be accepted with my Puerto Rican roots. My Spanish was terrible because my parents divorced, and I grew up in an only English-speaking home. Other than having such a Spanish last name, no one that I grew up with believed or accepted that I was half Latino. This affected me mentally. I quickly became an outcast due to my being too Hispanic to be white, but too white to be Hispanic. I cried a lot and was very sensitive because of the neglect I felt growing up. I was socially awkward and struggled with identity issues. I started to spiral downward into a dark depression. I remember living on Kruger Avenue in the Bronx, back when I was living with my mom and dad. Our house always had a familiar scent. I could come home from school and my dad would be sitting in the living room drawing with charcoal, still in his U.S. Marine uniform. He copied images from newspapers or drew magnificent free-form shapes that, even though abstract, held such phenomenal interpretation and depth. He would have a cup of Café Bustelo, and while the news was turned on, he would tell stories that I was way too young to understand. My mom would be cooking something fantastic, making the whole house smell like sofrito and chicken. My mother would then sit in her room and start to paint. She would use old paints and canvases from her college days because new ones were hard to come by due to our poverty. Her style was now more impressionistic, and her scale was larger than life. This was so special to me because seeing the colors go from little blobs into enormous fields of flowers held such a magical feeling. It was something that was just so out of this world. My parents got divorced when I was 4. It seemed as if my existence was a mistake. I did nothing but cry and mope around, lost in my own misery. I cried about everything because my emotions ran out of control. Living with my mother without my father felt wrong, and it started to take a toll on my mental health. I knew that it was not my fault, but I was going to school with children who had come from families with moms and dads, pets, and a few siblings. I felt as broken as my home was. I started to do art more frequently now. Whenever I got a chance, I would draw on construction paper, loose leaf, computer, and any kind of paper I could get my hands on. I was always doodling. This helped keep my sadness from taking control. I realized, wow, I really want to spend my life doing this. I would stay up at all hours of the night, creating characters and entire worlds from my imagination. Having no friends really forced me to think outside of the box. I would usually watch my Saturday morning cartoons recorded on a VHS and press pause. Then at certain moments, I would practice drawing different poses and facial expressions. My skills slowly started to develop, and so did my confidence. I was mercilessly bullied in school because I was a crybaby. This was because rejection was a very painful feeling in my heart due to the divorce and not seeing or speaking to my father for months at a time. Being able to create characters that were mine in worlds that I had fabricated really helped to keep my mind off of real-world issues. Early in high school, life started to get really busy, and my art, while good, kind of plateaued and I stopped improving. This brought back all the painful feelings that I had felt growing up. The loss of my ability to create ushered in all of those bad feelings. Life was becoming too much to handle by trying to figure out what I wanted out of life. Trying to figure out why I couldn't focus in class, trying to maintain friendships, getting enough sleep, and doing homework were exhausting me. I started to fall off the wagon and get poor grades. My stepfather's son had passed away that Easter, and that's when I started to self-harm. It went on for a few months, but I told my doctor, who took immediate action. Within one day, I was spending the night in a children's psychiatric ward. I was diagnosed with depression and severe anxiety disorder. I would spend the days drawing again and reading. When it was time to be pulled back into the real world, I felt refreshed and ready to take on the multiple challenges life had in store the following school year. My last 2 years of high school were dedicated to getting my grades up and improving my artistic ability, both of which I accomplished. I got accepted into a good community college's fine arts program. It was the structural foundation I needed to improve, for which I had been craving all these years. My time at Westchester Community College has helped me get a more critical understanding of art and the time and space to hone my craft. I appreciate it more now. Art is important to me, to culture and to society. Facets of everyday life can be art. Art is important to me because, well, it kept me alive. In my darkest time, I could always look to what held me together since I was a small child. Art has the ability to tie cultures together and end wars. It would be very unfortunate to see such a fantastic form of expression vanish from today's society, and it would be utterly impossible to have it vanish from my life, as it sustains, nourishes, and affirms living for me.
Oh, there'll be opportunity after, so we can get everybody signing, I promise. I would like okay. Yeah, we've got several things going on, and these students have like 3 or 4 post stops to do today. So, will you be back for the
Yes,
Q&A
yes,
after?
yeah.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to call Juliana Viana da Silva, Chapter 7, Art Changing, Life Changing. That's Chapter 7, page 39.
Art changes lives. Many of us have heard that statement and wondered why. The answer may vary, but one thing remains. Art can be captivating and helps people together to connect with the world around them. Since my early childhood, I have always been interested in artistic productions and arts in general, if not as a career, but as something that makes me happy and fulfilled. Art indeed has changed my life in an unexpected and amazing way. I come from a simple and modest background in which I lived the most of my life without access to the famous museums or musical productions. Thankfully, my family always recognized cultural productions and classic movies as well as music. My earliest memories remind me of Christmas time, when I would listen to a beautiful selection of songs and dream about how they would be shown in a presentation. Watching movies such as Gone with the Wind and Breakfast at Tiffany's also gave me an idea about the great work of actors, directors, and everyone involved. I'd see pictures in my school books and wonder how it could be transformed and presented in real life, and if someday I would be able to see them. By then, art seemed so distant, so impossible to be part of. Back in Brazil, my home country, there is a misconception that culture is only what is produced by the elites and is seen by the population as something extravagant and very expensive. For me, it was the same. Although I deeply appreciated the arts and music, all I knew was limited to either recorded music or pictures, movies. Being a girl raised in a traditional patriarchal family, I was led to believe in those fairy tales, and I would see the classic princesses movies as something magical and good. Furthermore, I also believed that to be able to see a theatrical production or some other version of a cultural event, I needed to be like the princesses from the children's movie that is so much loved. It was only when I moved from Campo Grande, my hometown, to another city in Brazil that my understanding about culture drastically changed. It made me realize that art is everywhere and everyone can explore his or her talents and creativity. The process of moving opened my eyes. I met new people and experienced their culture, and although I was still in Brazil, life was very different. Bahia, the place where I was now living, had lots of African influence due to colonization, and also from other cultures, since Bahia is a very famous tourist location. That gave me the chance to watch numerous artistic performances, to listen to new kinds of music, and meet people that were involved with the arts. Back then, I was a very shy and introspective child, and when the idea of joining a drama group came along, I did not know what to expect. To my surprise, I felt so good about stepping onto the stage, and I was able to express my feelings throughout that. I was able to make friends and deal with my own social shyness and emotional barriers. Art allowed me to make use of my personal skills that until then I did not know I had, and it shaped them in a meaningful way. I became more extroverted, social, and open to new experiences. When applying for college, my decision was based on that, and even nowadays, years after my first artistic experience, I am still thankful for that. I have always been passionate about learning and had the opportunity to study and learn more about many cultures and better understand them. Seeing culture as a form of social reproduction, and that every individual has the potential to participate. After graduating college in Brazil, I decided to live in the US, and that brought a new chapter in my life. Being able to see art exhibitions and attend cultural performances that I had never thought of before. Visiting museums, namely seeing Van Gogh's creations in front of me, and so many other objects that are worldly famous, gave me a sense of enlightenment. It was an emotional experience being able to attend a Broadway production and other famous performances. But now I understand that art is everywhere. Cultural events reflect our society, our thoughts and dreams, and being able to appreciate them is a great opportunity that everyone should have. In my journey from childhood to where I stand today, art has contributed in many ways. My passion for language also made me see that even that can be considered as an artistic expression. Great writers have transformed the words into art by the creation of novels, poems, plays, and poetry. Appreciating a good book, listening to a meaningful song, seeing a beautiful picture, all of that is art. Life becomes very special once we realize that as humans we have the ability to create or enjoy art. One of our biggest legacies of our human experience is the fact that we have created sculptures, paintings, buildings, and various means of communication that have lasted for thousands of years. The arts connect us as society. They help communicate our dreams, feelings, and passions, and open doors for individuation. The arts can even be used as medical therapy, as they make us more relaxed, calm, happier, or even stimulated. By observing an intricate sculpture painting, reading a provocative piece of literature, or listening to a new song, critical thinking is stimulated, and the capacity to apply abstract things is unleashed. As Friedrich Nietzsche once stated, art is a proper test of life. And it is indeed. It helps us explore ourselves by being a creator or just admiring it, as long as we are willing to open up our eyes. If people say that they do not enjoy the arts just because they do not know how much they are present in our routine, even in the smallest ways, recognizing that art touches us and brings us something from every individual is essential to the understanding of art as a subject. Whether we are talking about visual arts, theater, music, or dance, each one is special. Once we start looking at the world around us and all the artistic accomplishments that we have inherited as our legacy, life becomes much more enjoyable. Every culture has its own kind of artistic expression, representation, and which is rich in meaning and with history and heritage. From the street dance groups presenting in an outside pedestrian area to a formal ballet presented in a conventional space, each one talks deeply to its spectators, has its own significance, and can change their lives. Art has the power of making us feel enriched, enlightened, and inspired. Every path we choose is different and can lead us to infinite possibilities. Art helps us to get there, making the view inviting and the journey much more enjoyable. At first, art may not seem essential for fulfilling needs, but it does make our lives full of brightness and beauty. If we take time to explore ourselves, we'll see that there is a hidden artist inside all of us. For anyone looking for inspiration, joy, and fulfillment, my suggestion is just go watch a performance, look at a painting, open up to the many possibilities that the cultural arts have to offer.
Oh, yes, chapter 2, written by Maria Clara Chagas Esosa. I tried to pronounce that as best I could. And the name of her chapter 2 title is Arts, a Matter of Getting to Know Them. And them is, of course, the collective of so many of them.
Throughout my life, I have had some contact with the arts in different ways, and I believe that this experience contributed to my thinking of the way I feel about cultural arts and what they mean in my life. I would like to share these ideas, and maybe you will be able, in the end, to understand what led me to welcome the arts as something essential in my life. I was born in Brazil, and at school there was an event that took place every year. Basically, all the students from elementary and middle school would gather one night with their families, and there would be dance performances, plays, and various other presentations. One aspect that was unique about this event was that it was created and produced by these students without any contribution from adults. I really loved the idea, participating from my first year at elementary school until my last year at middle school. In my opinion, the event enables students to be creative and do their own thing for a day, instead of parents running everything all the time. In addition, it introduced arts in students' lives early on, so it was a great overview. I had the opportunity in my last year at middle school to be the president of the event, and then I could really immerse myself in the world of the arts, choosing which place to present, what types of dance, from which country, and so on. One interesting observation about this event was that we included some of the Brazilian culture into any presentation which was from a different country. So, if a French dance was presented, for example, we mixed it with some typical Brazilian moves, just to emphasize that our word is an amalgam of cultures. Another encounter I had with cultural arts that I remember from my childhood happened when I moved away from my parents and went to music school. It was a heartbreaking time for me. At the music school, the students were supposed to take one music class where they would learn about the music score, then choose one instrument or have the option of singing, in addition to taking one extra activity class, plastic arts, acting, sculpture, and so on. My entire family had always been involved in music, which probably was why I decided to start music school. I learned a lot during my time there. For my extracurricular activity, I chose acting, and I was lucky to have a great local actor as my professor. He would teach us how to express ourselves in different ways, through emotions and actions, and also the important technique of actual performance. We had the opportunity to present portions of some plays, most Brazilian ones, and it was amazing how every student would fall into a category style of acting. We had a great team, and even though I just stayed for 2 years at the music school, it was a life learning experience. Sometimes I still catch myself doing some of the exercises we learned back then. I had to stop going to music school in order to start college. But when I started still living in Brazil, I found out that there was a dance group made of mostly physical education students. Since I qualified as a student and I always loved to dance, I decided to apply for it. It was an amazing experience. I met other students who, besides having the same interests as mine, being a physical education major, also had another shared interest, the love of dance. The group made a couple of presentations each year, usually locally, and we performed mostly modern dance. We really were so involved, really giving opinions about different choreography movements, costuming, and other related performance matters. Whenever there was an event on campus, we would perform for the onlookers, and that was something that I just loved doing. One performance that I really loved and will always remember was a pink one. We were expressing through the dance the different types of passion that exist, going from the passion between boyfriend and girlfriend, man and woman, to the spiritual passion of Christ. It was pretty intense, and audience, whenever we performed, were astonished and enchanted. I finally got to the States, and it did not take long for me to look for something artistic to appreciate. I went to some Broadway shows and also to some museums. New York City is definitely a place full of art. Even though I'm not an expert at it, I love seeing it, and I believe that through artwork, we can better understand diverse cultures and how people of varied backgrounds express themselves. When I started Westchester Community College, I did not know at first that the college offered performing arts to students, and for free. But I became aware of this during my first semester of classes. Luckily, I had the opportunity to take classes with Dr. Rubinstein, who is the person responsible for choosing and bringing different performances to campus. Through that new relationship, I was very equipped to learn about SmartArts on campus and became more involved. When the opportunity to become a member of a new campus group, the SmartArts, a cultural arts advisor cohort, opened up to me, I just could not deny it. Cultural arts was always a presence in my life, and being able to give opinions and improve how others can have access to them was just too exciting an opportunity to let go. Now, here I am, having the power to change lives just as my own was once changed because of the arts. I always had this feeling that the arts, especially music, can touch people in an amazing way. I used to have, and still get, goosebumps whenever I hear a great room or when I hear an incredible voice. In the same way, I believe plays and musicals, for example, have the same power. People can take a trip to different countries through dance performances. They can experience a very different culture by watching a play or understanding someone's life through painting. The power of the arts is amazing. Most people understand the importance of the cultural arts in their lives, and I believe that is why they look for a movie to watch on the weekends, or they go to a concert occasionally, or try an Italian recipe for a friend's gathering. Art is everywhere. However, some people may not know very much about the arts, or they may even think that they are something really far removed from them or too fancy. And there is where I believe lies the problem. Not that I think everyone should be forced to experience art, but in my opinion, these people are missing out on great opportunities to expand their knowledge and their minds through something that is definitely rich. I believe that if people have the opportunity to know the arts better and maybe experience them, they will realize how important and incredible they can be. They will be enlightened just as play teaches us in the allegory of the cave. When I mentioned I wanted to share my experience so everyone could understand my point about the cultural arts, what I really meant was that I understand and value them because I had contact with them since early childhood. I was lucky about that. However, I also believe that it's never too late to have this contact. People should try the arts, and I'm sure there will be no regret. There is a reason why my belief is that loving the arts is just a matter of getting to know them. And to know them is to come to love them, just as I have.
I want to just pause for a minute. We've got two more readers and then the afterword, but just to mix it up a bit, I got a little surprise, a sneaky surprise game of participation. Did everybody get one of these? It's like a little bookmark token, and could I have, maybe could you help pass along? Those of you that don't have one, okay, we may be able to give out 2 per person, because yes, and see. Jose, I'm going to give you a badge. Could you give out some in the back there, maybe 2 or 3 per person? You get another one, just for being such a good listener. All right, and then you guys, great. Okay, one day. 2 is better than 1. And I think we'll give out a few more because we need to get these out there. Gustavo, we got some more. Give more. And John, I don't see any of them. You're getting quite a few. Yeah, you're getting a batch. Okay. All right. All right, we're going to go round robin. For starters, this is just sort of a little bookmark that matches the cover as a little token. But if you turn it over, you didn't get any? Oh, okay. randomly, let's go around the room because these are all the arts, because we're talking about cultural arts, so read them off so we're participating. Starting off with you, Jose, what do you have over there?
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I have cultural arts, cinematic arts, cultural arts, music, and tragedies.
Read.
I have operas, and fairy tales.
I have sonnets, performance art, and literary art.
I have jazz, graphic novels, documentaries, and photography.
I have sculpture, politics, microfiction, and biographies.
Biography. Okay.
I have flash fiction and ballet.
Ooh, nice.
Stand-up comedies and mysteries.
Art, comedies. Okay.
Musical theater and romance novels.
Oh, good choice. Yes.
I have pizza.
Pizza? How did that get in there?
Johnny Walker Blue. Poetry. I want to be creative, so.
And that you did, but you managed the poetry. Thank you for that. And all the other alcoholic things mixed in. Well, most poets kind of wrote from the bottle of Johnny Label thing. Adam.
Prose and graphic novels.
Hey. Marilyn. Hello.
Acrobatic arts and 3D art and holographic art.
Yeah, that's a wide one, and those are new genres coming in. Alan, did you get any?
Of course.
Good.
Okay. Haiku, comic art, comic books.
Ah, okay.
World music, electronic music, computer generated art, and portraits.
Okay.
Circus arts, landscapes, and suspense novels.
Now, of course, years ago people would trade cards like baseball cards. You could trade if you really so desire. And I know they're all going to jump on your alcoholic and trade. Anyway, those of you that have cultural arts, get a free book. I wanted to surprise you. But those that have the cultural arts, it was sort of the makeshift raffle. But I thought it was interesting to see such a broad spectrum of the arts that exist in our universe. And probably more on the horizon to come that we don't even know of. All right, back to our readings, and and here's one that's fairly new, and we never really think of in terms of art. And there was a little bit of coaxing and convincing of this wonderful individual to write his particular chapter. He didn't think it warranted to be put in a book about arts and cultural arts. But I said, nay, come on in, write it and we'll print it. So Adam Varello, who is known as Chapter 12, The Art of Games. Chapter 12.
The art of games. My name. One form of art that falls under entertainment gets overlooked is video games. Video games have so much time and effort put into creating them, yet are easily overlooked as artistic medium. Video games include storytelling, 3D artwork, concept art, immersion, and much more. My mom always said I should spend more time with books, but that's just it. Video games are books. They have a story to tell. They give me a visualization of what's happening, the importance or significance of the event. They have 3D models now that match the quality of CGI movies. Of course, it depends on the type of game you play. A movie like Fast and Furious can be meshed with Need for Speed. The Tom Clancy books are brought to life through his own series of games titled Tom Clancy. Video games are able to go beyond any form of entertainment because the players are in control. In our time, space exploration is at its beginning, putting only 6 people aboard the International Space Station for 6 months. The future and ideas of life in space can be simulated in the virtual world. A game called Star Citizen delivers the so-called true-life graphics, fidelity, and realness. Games can also be a time machine to immerse people back to medieval times, to seize castles, become kings, or even progress through time as a civilization. Video games are able to break barriers, and people can play and enjoy them as they please. My passion for video games started when I was 4 years old. I was fortunate enough to have a Sega Saturn. For many hours each day, I was able to run around as Sonic or fight bad guys in Mortal Kombat. Shortly after Nintendo came out with the Game Boy, my love for video games could never be broken. It was always about getting the newest games and exploring the potential they had. Through video games, I am able to have two close friends that I consider my brothers. The three of us have strong passion for games. Although we have different life goals, different tastes in music, live in different states, have our own niche of friends, online video games kept us connected. You can only ask them how many times a person's I can only ask how a person's been so many times. On the other hand, going online brings me to other people so I can compete with them and see who's better or team up to get a new boss. And this online connectivity also has a chat system, so we always spot up and talk about recent events and topics. The beauty about video games is that they can be extremely immersive, where everything outside my vision can be canceled out and is forgotten for the time being. Another perk is being in the comfort of my own home. I don't have to travel. I don't have to go to the theater or museum to enjoy them. They're at my own leisure for however long I want. For me, the most important art aspects of the game are the graphics, followed by the music and the story. Graphics quality is the most important attribute to a game because I feel it is the determining factor of how immersed into a game I can get. I follow this up with audio because games with excellent sound and soundtracks can bring anyone into the scene. If I'm at war against the Russians and a grenade explodes next to me, I can see how dangerous the blast is, the radius being affected, and the shock they left. A common audio compliment game developers add to grenades is that after they blow up, a sharp ringing muffled sound. Another genre that uses these elements is horror games. When I'm running around the environment and nothing is happening, it's calm and quiet. Once there is any movement or noise, like a door creaking open or hearing my enemy's footsteps, the music blasts and removes me from my quiet state. After the graphics and sound, there's the storytelling. How good of a story is it to keep me on the edge of my seat? It's my mission to save the president's daughter, slay dragons, solve the problem for more loot. I talk about the immersion video games bring because for some people, that is the most addicting part. Video games are a gateway for some people more than a form of entertainment. Some players might have a hard or horrible life and can escape from symptoms of depression or forget about the abuse of their lives in their lives. One YouTube personality is a guy who goes by the alias Boogie298. Boogie was a guy who was obese his whole life, had a dysfunctional family, was bullied in his childhood, and was very poor. His life had been miserable up until his mid-20s, where he decided he was going to take his own life. Luckily, his best friend and roommate were there to stop him. After that event in his life, Boogie delved into video games as a form of therapy. Boogie, being severely obese at the time, had a sense of humor and made videos of himself acting out in childish behavior because, in his own words, "It is funny because I am an adult who is back and acting like a child." He made it clear that it was just a character he played for Francis. And soon after, he did a video of his life because the gaming community was so interested in the story. The hardest part for people who want to create this art are the critiques. The challenging aspect for the creators is not only that they are releasing their art into the world, that people spend money anywhere between $5 to $60 or more for the special edition, and for the game to match their expectations and beyond. There are plenty of critics out there who write articles and make videos about their opinion of games that come out. It's tough for producers because these critics have a large following and they have their mission to get their point across to the publisher, especially if they are dissatisfied. I can't think of a time where a group of people got angry at the publisher of a book to the point where they made sure that their book wasn't bought anymore or would stop being published. This happens in the gaming industry because companies have stockholders and a board. If they really upset their customers, their pockets will burn. This leads to the fear of going outside the comfort zone of development. Consequently, the same types of games are decided to produce. Just like other art communities, there's the video game community. This community of gamers ranges from all ages to including both sexes and races. Gaming communities often under fire predominantly because of the type of games that are made and played. These games like Grand Theft Auto include guns, sex, violence, drugs, and other negative activities. There's always being reported that these types of games promote bad behavior and that the players take what they learn from a game and apply it to real life. But playing in a fantasy world and living life are really quite different. Being in a generation that grew up on video games, my generation of gamers is known to be the least misogynistic, racist, sexist, and more open to a new way of living. We believe that we have a high tolerance for other people's thoughts and ideas, a worthwhile model to follow.
All right. I would like to call up Brian Centrone, who wears many hats and has worn many hats. Brian Centrone was a student at the college. He is now an alumnus. He is also an adjunct professor here and engages in many, many different activities. In addition to all of that, he was one of the editors helping out, but behind the scenes, now in front of scene, but behind the scenes in getting this book ready, scrubbed to go online. And Brian, you are known as Chapter 10 on page 53, Chapter 10, Cultural Arts and Me.
The cultural arts have always played an important role in my life. Not a fan of sports, theater, music, dance, and literature not only filled my spare time, but filled my mind, allowing me to think creatively and imaginatively. Of course, this didn't always put me in a good position as a young boy growing up in the Bronx in the 80s and 90s. I went to Catholic school for 9 years. Extracurricular activities were a non-existent element, unless you count morning, afternoon, and end-of-day prayers. Sure, we had school plays and an annual trip to the farm, but when you consider how art, music, and dance programs can really help young learners, I was at a disadvantage. I wanted to learn piano and take ballet as a child. 2 dreams never realized. I did, however, have an unfortunate season playing Little League baseball. I was so bad and so miserable that the other parents begged my mother to pull me out. She didn't, opting to teach me an important lesson about seeing things through to the end. I'd rather have learned that lesson playing piano or dancing ballet. I bring this up because it wasn't until I attended Westchester Community College that I fully and finally benefited from an education chock full of cultural arts. Whether it was seeing an art film with the Film Society, or hearing an opera with the Honor Society, or seeing a Broadway show with the Drama Club, all my passions and interests were fueled. And what made it that much better was that I was getting to experience those events with other students. After, we would be able to discuss the piece of music, movie, or play we just experienced. We could put the art into context, applying ideas and concepts we had learned in psychology, writing, history, or theater class. And it was more than the occasional club outing. I was able to see performances I would never have been able to afford or have the opportunity to see elsewhere because Westchester Community College is privileged to have an Office of Cultural Affairs that works tirelessly to bring the best in music, dance, and performance to the college and to the community. As a writer, I was partial to the Poets and Writers series, one of several series within the SmartArts programming at Westchester Community College. I had the unimpeded opportunity to hear award-winning authors read from their work and talk about their writing process. At one point, I was even asked to lead a roundtable discussion with one of the authors, John Weir, who had recently won the Lambda Literary Award for his debut novel, The Irreversible Decline of Eddie Socket. To a young writer, this meant everything to me. Somewhere at the college, an audio recording of that roundtable is stashed away. I often think about that recording and its significance, particularly because years later, I returned to Westchester Community College and to the Poets and Writers series as a featured author. All that access to art and culture allowed me to write a successful novel, Ordinary Boy. Art, theater, fashion, and popular culture play an important role in my book. Those who know me, and those who know Westchester Community College, will be able to see the influences the college and its cultural arts programming have had on my life. And even though I transferred to Fordham University, studied Shakespeare at Cambridge University for a summer, and earned a master's degree in novel writing from the University of Manchester, United Kingdom, anything I learned or experienced culturally and academically stood on a foundation strongly rooted in my time as a student at Westchester Community College. Well, that may seem like a great conclusion, that is hardly where the story ends. I didn't just come back to the college as a featured author. I became an adjunct professor in the English department. Through my courses, I've been able to infuse my love of art and culture into my curriculum because I know firsthand how important and significant the inclusion of cultural arts into education can be. When I teach Hamlet, I can send my students to see a faithful production for no cost to students, made possible by SmartArts. As a scholar of Hamlet and Shakespearean staging, I know full well that students who get to see a production of the play while reading and studying it are at a better advantage of understanding not only Shakespeare's prose, but the concept behind the work itself. In fact, being able to bring the cultural arts into the classroom was so important to me that I worked alongside the Office of Cultural Affairs in creating and presenting outreach programs to more than my own classes. The Office of Cultural Affairs at the college was awarded grants to provide outreach activities, in addition to master classes in collaboration with great theater groups and dance companies such as Mama Chance, Ragamala Dance, Koresh Dance, and Ballet X. I had the privilege of going into writing, communication, and dance classes to present mini lectures and conduct related workshops. The students learned about the inspiration for each unique production coming to the college. This inspiration incorporated masks, poetry, spirituality, and art. The mini lectures and workshops allowed the students to step outside their regularly scheduled courses and look at how art, music, and words can influence an entire dance or theatrical production. For me, the highlight is always going into the dance classes. When I am working with the students and the instructor, I get to live out my childhood dreams of studying ballet. Being in the dance studio and working with the students on creating shapes and movements inspired by the same piece of art, music, or writing the great choreographers of the companies were inspired by is truly magical. The takeaway lesson from these outreach programs is ultimately about how the arts and academics work together in creating masterful ideas, performances, writing, and minds. The students experience the process of analysis and creativity, and I experience the growth and development of a mind finally making the connections. As for my own mind, I am still allowing theater, dance, drama, music, literature, and fashion to expand my understanding of culture and society. When I write, the cultural arts are always with me, seeping in, shaping, and informing my words, the worlds I create, and the messages I am delivering to my readers and to myself.
Thank you. We're finished with the actual readings of the chapters, but to close this, and before we go to the few remaining students here for Q&A, I'd like to invite up Cherise Gordon, who wrote the afterword called, I believe, Afterthoughts. Yes, Artistic Afterthoughts on page 69. And just a quick shout out to Alan Seward, who came in. I really wanted him to come because he's made a lot of what some of these students have written about possible on our stage. Alan Seward is the theater manager at the college. So whatever appears on the stage that no one really sees because it's backstage and technical, all of that stuff, that invisible stuff that makes it real, that's the magician back there. Alan, you want to give a little wave? Hello. All right, and now we'll close the reading portion with the afterword. Thank you.
Abundantly clear that the arts have transformed the lives of the aforementioned students in distinct and meaningful ways, the arts can also shape and shift one's perspective at different times in one's life. As a student at Westchester Community College, then a professor at the college, as well as an entrepreneur in the arts field, I can safely say that in both stages of my life, the arts played significant yet discrete roles. At the age of 16, as a high school senior, I enrolled at Westchester Community College to take courses that would give me college credit. Where high school was dull and prescriptive, lacking any real arts presence other than the elective theater class, which was a glorified social club, WCC offered a wealth of cultural opportunities. I tried to explore as many avenues as I could by joining the Italian club, auditioning for a play, and even modeling for studio art classes. By merely participating, one hardly knows the breadth and depth of what can be gleaned or experienced. The Italian club exposed me to Marcello Mastroianni's incredible performance of 8 1/2, a film which will forever remain in my mental Rolodex of splendor. Auditioning for Clitemnestra was the conduit for my introduction to Greek theater, tragedy and comedy with a sumptuously salacious twist. By modeling for art students, I was able to literally be immersed in the artistic process and watch novices and professionals use their natural abilities to create works of wonder. The sense of immortality can be felt in the arts vis-a-vis a universal message in cinema or theater, as well as gazing upon a work of art. I knew the sensations that the cultural arts had awakened in me would never be stifled nor put to rest. After returning from graduate school, I began my career as a professor of arts and humanities at WCC. Having worked in the modern languages department, teaching Spanish to creating curricula centered around art history, music and dance for mainstream's continuing education program, I reveled in the ingenuity associated with teaching. My Spanish classes would look at a seminal work by Picasso such as Guernica, and then be able to write a personal analysis of the work in Spanish. The students had a closer connection to Spanish history and the explosive content in the painting. Virtually nothing in my professional career has given me more joy than sharing my passion and knowledge of modern and contemporary art through lectures and gallery and museum tours. There's something magical about introducing students to an artist, concept, or artistic movement and creating an internal and external dialogue. The students may react favorably or not, but an awareness and heightened level of perception is awakened such to the point he or she has to figure out internally why that particular reaction is occurring. The conversations that I've experienced in galleries and museums encapsulate the human essence, seeking knowledge, curiosity, and heightened sensitivities and emotions. I've watched my students, college-aged to senior citizens, all have a quote-unquote moment of clarity in which they see something with fresh eyes for the first time, take in and process the information almost as a child would. This is an incredibly humbling experience that reminds us that there is truly a grandness and immortality found in the arts. The arts serve as an outlet for explorational learning, a source of comfort, and a conduit for conversation and introspection. As we conclude the cultural arts voyage embarked on, we can thank the students for their candor and self-reflection. By sharing stories of how the arts affected who we are in essence creating our own works of art. Storytelling is one of the most ancient forms of artistic expression. May the tradition live on, and may the arts continue to infiltrate our lives such that we may remain as cultural arts harbingers of wisdom, beauty, truth, knowledge, and meaning.
Well, that concludes the reading portion. Can I invite some of the participants in the publication to come up? I know we're a small group, but maybe some questions would be asked of the creative process. Come on up, Adam, Jessica, Charisse. And they'll answer a few questions and sign some autographs.
Are there any questions anybody would like to ask of some of these authors? Well, I have not a question itself, but I do want Professor Seeholster maybe to stand up as well, because thanks to her helping in recruiting some of these students who are our student authors through the honors program, she helped make this possible. As I say, it takes a village. She's part of the village. So thank you, Professor Seaholster.
Thank you, Professor Rubinstein.
Oh, did you have a question?
I was gonna just ask you if this is the first time that you've been published, and if so, great accomplishment. How do you feel about that, especially today with the book launch?
Let's go down the line.
This is my first time being published, and for the first time working with a group of others, it's a little more challenging, obviously, than going off on your own, but it's more rewarding because I got inspiration from the other stories, and that helped what I was writing.
This is definitely a big accomplishment in my life. I'm very proud of everybody, and this is my first time.
During the writing process, I was very critical of what I was writing because it was the first thing I was writing that would be published. So I wrote everything, and then like, that's not good. So I deleted everything, and I rewrote it a couple of times. So I figured out what I wanted. So writing, it's different when you're writing for a class and you're writing to be published because you feel like you know you'll be the most critical. What are other people going to critique you on? And it was tough for me. But I'm glad I did it because it feels rewarding to have my name on a book that's been published.
I'm going to pass this along to Miguel to answer the same question.
This is definitely the first time I've been published, and this has been a fantastic learning experience and very timely because I've actually been in the process of working on my own book for healthcare, and I picked up a lot of information from this experience that I can incorporate into a real life project that I'm working on. So I'm very grateful to Dr. Rubinstein and all of her insights with this cultural arts project. It's been terrific.
Any other questions out there? Other authors? Adam, do you have a question? You're busy writing for the, I want to give Adam also a shout out as well. Adam, lift your head up, stop the writing. Adam's been covering the process of this group gathering, organizing, meeting, ripping each other to shreds, throwing ideas at each other, and he just sits there and takes notes and has written several articles that have been published in the Viking newspaper. So he has seen mass chaos and confusion come to synthesis and something actually creative. He bears witness. So thank you, Adam, of the Viking. Any other questions for our illustrious group leader? All right, that concludes. I thank you for coming. And one last thing I'd like to do is show you, because it actually came last week, but a lot of these students in this grouping also helped me with the booking decisions for the next cultural arts season. And so this came last week, and you're more than welcome for a copy of the postcard. But they were intrinsic in helping in deciding which groups I would book for the season next year. So please feel free to take one. There's some, I think, on the outside table. And thank you for, yes, Patty. So
I don't know if anybody's done it yet because I didn't get here until 12, but I would like to thank Professor Paula Rubinstein, who has a vision that she shares with joy with everyone else.